Welcome, folks, to another fun at-home table read. Tonight we're tackling something a little unconventional, written by someone we have here. The Muppets present The Great Gatsby. We're jumping right into the cast for this thing tonight. On action description, we have Jennifer. As Nick Carraway, we've got Hunter. Posing that dramatic pose, loving it. As Rizzo the Rat, we've got Erik. I'm going to be reading for Gonzo, as this thing goes. As Tom Buchanan, we've got Johnny. As Miss Daisy, we've got Mary Pat. Yeah, she's blowing the confetti. As Jordan Baker, we've got Lynne. As George Bear Wilson, we've got Jeremy. As Gatsby the Frog, we've got Paul. As Meyer Wolfprawn, we've got Angie. And as Myrtle Wilson, we've got Karina. All right, well, Jen, take us away.
Muppets present The Great Gatsby, written by Ben Crew. Based on the Muppets, created by Jim Henson. Based on The Great Gatsby, written by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Good job, Jen. Here we go. Open on green.
Start. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you've had.
Title, Fade 2, Exterior, Manhattan Island. We see Manhattan Island in a stunning early morning glow. Golden sunlight beams off giant 20-story skyscrapers. Come on, Jen. Sam Eagle flies by in a propeller plane, a 48-star American flag waving from the aircraft's rear.
There it is, Mr. Carraway. New York, a city made for capitalism and therefore America.
In his back seat is Nick Carraway, 29, an easygoing man, still carrying the optimism of a boy in his smile.
Well, let's get a closer look.
Sam pulls down and we now see Rizzo the Rat, known here as Fitz, and Gonzo, known here as Gerald, gripping to the wings.
Fitz! Gerald! You okay up there?
Gonzo and Rizzo hesitantly nod their heads, but soon scream as Sam plummets the plane down towards the city streets. Exterior, Times Square, continuous. Muppets of all shapes and sizes dance about as Wall Street men and flapper girls step joyously through the street. The song they sing is called New Money, Old Money.
I moved to a city. On money I had, they call me old money.
I lived in a city, got rich off a bet. They call me new money.
No matter what, how we got our cash, it's ours now, and we're not gonna let it flash.
The chorus members all hold up dollar bills and fling these into the air, dancing about wildly as cash rains down on men and women, counting their own money as they pass. Interior, expensive things store. A Muppet businessman bursts into the expensive things store.
I'll take all of your wares.
A high society mouse enters through a smaller door. Exterior Times Square, Bobo the Bear sits in a fancy new automobile that leans under his massive weight.
Does this come in a size that fits bears?
The right tire blows out under his weight, shooting the auto salesman back into a pile of singing briefcases that hum like a barbershop quartet. A monocle Muppet leaking coins out of his pockets runs into the center of Times Square. He huffs and puffs and heaves.
Help! Help! I'm in distress!
The music stops and everyone looks at the monocle Muppet. He holds up nearly 20 shopping bags.
I bought too much to carry. Can I pay someone to help me?
The music kicks in again and several shoeshine boys rush forward to help with the bags.
The new money looks up to me, but the old money is my friend.
The old money looks down on me, but the new money keeps me free. The one thing for sure, these good times are never gonna end.
Sam's plane pulls down and lands in the middle of Times Square. Nick steps out with the wind blown Gonzo and Rizzo trailing behind him. He looks around the city with an unmatched wonder, acting as if the sight of each skyscraper and expensive automobile were the first he had ever seen. Nick begins narrating.
New York City had all the iridescence of the beginning of the world. This was the greatest nation, and there was gala in the air for the summer of 1922.
Rizzo and Gonzo looked in confusion at Nick.
The Great War was over, and America's victory party only grew year after year.
Unlike Nick, Rizzo speaks out loud.
Gerald, what's he doing?
My friends Fitz and Gerald had come east with me to see if America had hit a peak.
I think he's inner monologuing.
Was there satisfaction in the constant flicker of men and women and machines that was given to the restless eye? Or would I be haunted by the wasting of the city's most poignant moments?
Nick knows he can just talk to us, right?
I don't think he wants to. It's part of his character.
Nick jumps up, grabbing onto a streetlight and spinning around as he sings to the citizens of Manhattan.
New, old, east, west, I just want you to know me best. My name is Nick Carraway.
His name is Nick Carraway.
This city's gonna carry me away. In the streets, in the skies, I've kept receipts 'cause I won the prize. This city is gonna know my name.
Nick Carraway, welcome to fame. Nick Carraway, now there's a name. Old money, new, we just wanna know you. We wanna know you.
The dancers hit a triumphant and pose and suddenly carry on with their business as if the choreographed number had never actually happened. Some even bump into Nick and respond rudely.
Watch it, bozo. Don't you know who I am?
Nick smiles at the city as he walks back over to Sam and begins another inner monologue.
It was the city seen for the first time, and its first wild promise of all the mystery and the beauty in the world.
Sam observes Nick's pensive face as he continues to inner monologue. Nick stares off in the distance.
But my home would not be in this marvelous city. The boys and I had secured a cottage out on Long Island where...
Nick snaps out of his trance and looks to Rizzo and Gonzo.
Nick, he can't hear your thoughts. You have to speak out loud.
Nick turns to Sam as if Gonzo hadn't said anything.
Take us to Long Island, please.
Sam looks dumbfounded.
Why did you have me land in Manhattan if you were just headed to Long Island?
To be fair, we didn't have to symbolically depict New York City's greed and excess somehow. A song and dance number seemed reasonable.
Yeah, New York is on the poster. The movie's got to open in the city.
Well, the Muppets Take Manhattan didn't.
Nick, Rizzo, and Gonzo stare silently. Sam sighs and opens the plane's door.
Next stop, Long Island.
Exterior over Queens. Sam's plane flies over the Valley of Ashes in Queens, a loathsome industrial site devoid of any color but lifeless gray. Glaring up at them are the eyes of doctors TJ and Eckelberg, a worn billboard featuring the bespectacled eyes of the two elderly Muppets, Statler and Waldorf.
Where shall I be landing?
West Egg, please. Right across from East Egg. You see, West is for new money and East is for old money.
Symbolism.
He plummets the plane down again, drawing more screams from Gonzo and Rizzo as they grip desperately to the wings. The ominous laughter of Statler and Waldorf echoes on the wind. Ha, 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 ha. Exterior, Nick's cottage day. The trio wave as Sam's plane takes off into the sky again, leaving them with their luggage outside Nick's new home.
Welcome home, gents.
Gonzo and Rizzo turn to see a giant mansion looming in the distance. The size and grandeur of the structure leaves them in awe. Marble fountains, Greek statues that turn and wave, gardens of singing flowers calling out to them.
This is our home?
Rizzo and Gonzo scream in joy and run forward.
I got that bug!
Fitz, I think it's going to be more than one bedroom.
Boys, that isn't our house.
Both hesitantly turn.
This one is ours.
Nick motions to a humble cottage nestled beside the massive mansion estate. Gonzo and Rizzo sigh.
Oh, that's nice too, I guess.
I still call that bunk.
Nick walks over to his mailbox and sees a much larger mailbox beside it, adorned with a green G.
That large mansion belongs to a fella named...
He reaches inside and pulls out a letter addressed to Mr. Gatsby the Frog. The letter reads, "Dear Mr. Gatsby, we regret to inform you that the rights to your namesake novel, The Great Gatsby, have fallen into the public domain, meaning that anyone can now adapt this American literary classic."
Gatsby. A Mr. Gatsby the Frog.
Nick glances up with interest at the massive mansion.
What kind of a man Mr. Gatsby is?
Technically, he's a frog.
Nick's eyes zero in on the massive windows of Gatsby's home. A lone curtain is drawn open. Could someone be watching?
All this money, all this property. But are you in there alone right now? Do you have anyone to share it with?
In a monologuing again.
Yeah, just unpack. We'll snap him out of it if he's still going by dinner.
Meet, meet. The two look over and see Nick entering a taxi.
Nick, where you going?
Nick holds a door open for them.
All this talk of excess and meaningless wealth got me thinking we should pay a visit to my cousin Daisy. She's across the bay in West Egg. Old money. You know the type.
Ugh, symbolism.
The two stand for a moment, staring at the open taxi door.
They'll have food.
Gonzo and Rizzo rush forward.
Well, why did you say so?
Like this cousin of yours.
They jump in and the cab takes off. Exterior Buchanan Mansion. We push in on an aerial view of a plantation-style home on the bay's edge. A green lighthouse shines dimly before it.
Daisy was my second cousin once removed, and I'd known her husband Tom in college. Tom was a college football star, one of those men who reached such an acute limited excellence at 21 that everything afterwards savors of anticlimax.
Rizzo's voice breaks in.
Is Nick inner monologuing or speaking right now? I can't tell.
It's just an establishing shot. Don't overthink it.
A man appears to be playing a physical game with a few tall figures in the front lawn.
His family were enormously wealthy. Even in college, his freedom with money was a matter of reproach.
On the lawn, we see Tom Buchanan, 30, a hulking brute of a man with thick mustache that looks as if it were made of straw, tackling a pony Muppet dressed in leather football gear. Tom takes the football and barrels past two other ponies as he crosses the end zone. Tom kisses the ball and kicks it to the sky.
I'm still the best. Woo!
Nick and the others exit the cab as the ball suddenly hurtles down on a crash course with Gonzo. Gonzo screams and runs about in zigzags. Ball POV. We see from the ball's falling POV as it tracks Gonzo following its path exactly as he madly runs about. Rizzo laughs until the ball suddenly takes a sharp turn and slams into him.
Well, if it isn't Nate Caringware.
Nick walks to Tom out on the yard.
Hello, Tom. These are my friends, Fitz and Gerald.
He points back behind him. Gonzo waves while Rizzo's tail sticks up from inside a smoldering crater. Nick steps forward, shaking Tom's muddy hand.
Neil, did you see me make that touchdown? I think I might even be better than I was in college.
Richard, too, I imagine.
Tom lets out a bellowing laugh.
Ha! You must not be doing too bad for yourself to make it all the way to Long Island. Even if you're living on the west side.
Rizzo crawls out of the crater.
You don't understand this East versus West symbolism.
We don't have time to explain it. Even if we do, you'll say, but did the author really mean that?
So I suppose you'll be wanting to see our dear little Daisy.
Interior Buchanan sitting room. An elegant, circular room emitting a heavenly white glow. Silk drapes flow in a gentle wind as pink felt hand wearing a diamond ring runs a finger over the white sofa top. The door to the sitting room opens.
Tommy, is that you, my darling?
Tom brings the boys into the sitting room as Miss Piggy, known here as Miss Daisy, rises over the sofa's back.
Looking for more?
It was the kind of voice that the ear follows up and down as if each speech is an arrangement of notes that will never be played again.
Miss Daisy whips her hair about in slow motion, fluttering her eyelashes at camera.
Her face
Yes,
was
girl.
sad and lovely, with bright things in it, bright eyes and a bright, passionate mouth, but there was an excitement in her voice that men who had cared for her found difficult to forget.
The curtains flow over Daisy, obscuring her view in the camera.
me, the curtains. Tom, the wind is too strong.
The wind blows so hard that papers and objects fly about the room as the curtains stick to Miss Daisy's body. She begins to karate chop at the silk, trying to get it off of her.
Get it off, hi-ya!
There was a singing compulsion, a whispered listen, a promise that she had done exciting things just a while since and that there were exciting things hovering in the next hour.
The wind breaks the curtains free from the wall, slamming the curtain rod into Daisy, who falls with a scream to the floor. Ah! The wind dies down and she jumps up.
Oh, Nikki!
Miss Daisy resumes her regal pose on the sofa, and Nick walks over to kiss her hand.
Do they miss me in Chicago, Nikki?
The city is desolate without you.
Oh, I'm paralyzed with happiness.
Miss Daisy freezes in place. Tom glances up with an eye roll as he prepares the group glasses of juice. Everyone stares at the frozen Miss Daisy.
Oh, is she in a monologuing too?
No, I think she's just like that.
Nick glances over the sofa and sees Jordan Baker, 21, a tan and slender woman with intense eyes seated across from Miss Daisy. Jordan has Camilla the chicken sitting in her lap.
Who is this?
Who is this?
Camilla lets out a snooty "Baka!" as Jordan hides a thin smile behind a handful of playing cards. Miss Daisy breaks out of her paralysis.
Oh, is that Jordan Baker, a very famous golfer?
Pleased to meet you.
Jordan says nothing, swirling a drink that Tom made her.
Nikki, you would make a very cute couple. In fact, I insisted. I'll be locking you in closets and pushing you out to sea all summer.
Jordan sets down Camilla, who wears her own chicken feathers in a flapper headband. Beside the immediately swooning Gonzo, and saunters over to the window. She can see Gatsby's mansion across the bay.
Tell me, Mr. Carraway. Daisy says you live in West Egg. What's life like on the other side?
$80 a month rent for my little place, if you can believe that. If you mean the social circle, we haven't been there long, so I don't know anyone.
Jordan's eyes gleam.
Well, you must know Gatsby.
Miss Daisy turns with a fright and screams.
Gatsby!
Tom pours so much liquid it flows all over the glass. Daisy huffs until she calms down and pops up her hair, while looking the other way as if she never cared.
What Gatsby?
Tom stomps over and wraps a commanding hand over Nick's shoulder before he can reply.
Ladies, I think it's dinner time.
Interior dining room. The guests sit at the Buchanan dinner table, oddly spaced apart, with Miss Daisy and Tom on opposite ends. The Swedish chef suddenly bursts in carrying a tray of chowder bowls.
Nice margy margy suba hooba.
He slaps the bowls down across the table.
What shall today's entree be?
The Swedish chef strokes his mustache and suddenly reaches for Camilla, forcefully grabbing the chicken by her neck. Camilla barks bloody murder, back, until Jordan steals her back.
No. Perhaps fish tonight.
The Swedish chef sighs and trudges back into the kitchen, immediately returning with a fishing pole and walking outside.
He's from Sweden.
I noticed.
Singing candles placed about the table serenade the dinner guests with peaceful humming. The ambiance is broken by a shrill phone ringing that neither Miss Daisy or Tom appear to acknowledge. Tom begins loudly slurping his soup as if it will drown out the noise. Nick runs a spoon through his soup but does not eat. He looks at Gatsby's house across the bay. It appears a party is going on. Nick opens his mouth to speak, but Gonzo breaks in.
Beautiful home, Mr. and Mrs. Buchanan. And might I say, your daughter is as stunning as you are.
An awkward silence. Miss Daisy's face scrunches.
Daughter? What daughter?
In the doorway, a baby Miss Piggy stands pouting and turns to storm off.
Sweetie, wait, I...
Miss Daisy stands up and looks to Tom.
What's our baby's name?
Tom shrugs.
All I know is that it isn't a boy.
Miss Daisy groans and storms off, just like her daughter. Another long pause. Nick surveys the room before trying again.
So, who is this Gats?
The shrill phone rings again, and Tom slams a fist into the table, generating a momentary yelp from the singing candles. Each ring drives Tom into further anger. Oh, we're so angry. We can't read. Suddenly, the ringing stops, and Tom sighs in relief.
Finally.
Oh, yeah, sure. Tom, yeah, it's for you.
Rizzo stands by the telephone, holding up the receiver. Tom stomps over and yanks it from Rizzo's paws.
Told you never to call me here.
A sultry woman's voice replies on the other end.
But Tom, I love you.
Nick and Jordan glance awkwardly at each other as Gonzo stress eats bread.
Honey, guess what? Our daughter does have a name. It's...
She re-enters the room and sees Tom on the phone.
Who are you on the phone with?
Tom sweats.
Quick, sound like the bear.
The sultry voice suddenly coughs and attempts the lamest impression of Fozzie Bear one can imagine.
Waka, Waka. But Tommy Bear, I love you.
Dead silence as Miss Daisy taps her high heel.
I'll call you back, George Bear Wilson. I'm gonna bring my car into the shop tomorrow. Are you good?
Waka, Waka.
Tom slams down the receiver and looks back at Miss Daisy.
Tom Buchanan, outside now.
Tom reluctantly follows the order and walks out.
Hey, Nick, come with me tomorrow.
To take your car into the shop?
What, you got other plans the West Egg socialites don't know how?
Miss Daisy pushes Tom outside. Their silhouettes reflect in the moonlight against the window curtains, and we can see Miss Daisy immediately start throwing karate kicks at Tom.
Hi! You brute! You fucking brute!
Don't call me that, you dainty.
Furniture crunches and glass breaks.
What's that all about?
But everybody knew. You don't know anything, do you, Mr. Carraway?
Nick raises his eyebrows at Jordan.
That bear on the phone wasn't a bear at all. It was another woman.
Gonzo and Rizzo gasp and shared, no.
Does Daisy know?
There is a resounding, hi-ya, followed by brick crumbling outside.
She knows enough. Is that the end of your inquiries, Mr. Carraway?
No, this man you mentioned, Gatsby. He's my neighbor.
Jordan leans forward, her cold eyes truly locked on Nick for the first time of the night.
Oh, now this is interesting.
Who is he?
Gonzo leans over to Camilla as Jordan begins to speak.
Watch, we're gonna get interrupted right before she can speak.
Tom and Miss Daisy re-enter. He is covered in broken glass and dirt scruffs, and she is huffing and puffing. Miss Daisy turns to Nick with a joyous mood to her voice, as if the phone call karate fight has never happened.
I love to see you at my table, Nicky. Oh, you remind me of a rose, an absolute rose.
I'm not even faintly like a rose. She was only extemporizing, but a stirring warmth flowed from her, as if her heart was trying to come out. To you, concealed in one of those breathless, thrilling words.
Tom and Miss Daisy stare at Nick, awaiting a response while he narrates in his head, and Gonzo leans over.
He says thanks.
Boys, it's getting late, and I think you should go. Nick, will I be seeing you tomorrow morning?
Yeah, sure, Tom.
Nick stands up with Gonzo and Rizzo, and 3 penguin butlers approach to hand them their hats.
Nicky, I'll walk my favorite cousin to the cab, so long as Miss Baker doesn't feel I'm stealing you away.
Sorry, I lost my place. By all means, Have a nice night, Mr. Carraway, and say hello to Mr. Gatsby for me.
Miss Daisy cringes at this as she leads them outside. Exterior Buchanan mansion. They pass butlers cleaning broken glass and busted furniture. The Swedish chef fishes in the distance, an obvious shark fin circling his line. It pulls him in, dragging the man out to sea with an incomprehensible Swedish scream.
Swedish sharker!
Nicky?
Yeah, Daisy?
I call you my favorite cousin, but I really don't know you. You didn't even come to my wedding.
I was in the war when you married.
Huh? A world war? Can't use that excuse twice. Today was a bad time, wasn't it? I suppose I'm very cynical. You know what I say when a baby girl was born?
Oh, well, Nick picks a garden flower and plucks at the petals. Gonzo and Rizzo instinctively do the same.
The nurse told me it was a girl, and I wept. I wept and I said, I hope she's a fool, because that's the best thing a girl can be in this world. A beautiful little fool.
Nick hangs his head.
The instant her voice broke off, ceasing to compel my attention, I felt the basic insincerity of what she had said. It made me uneasy, as though the whole evening had been a trick, some sort to exact a contributory emotion from me.
Miss Daisy scrunches her face at Rizzo and Gonzo.
He doesn't talk much, does he?
Honestly, we don't know.
I waited, and sure enough, in a moment she looked at me with an absolute smirk on her lovely face, as if she had asserted her membership in a rather distinguished secret society to which she and Tom belonged.
Miss Daisy smiles.
Well, Mom, to be continued in our next issue.
Nick kisses her hand and re-enters the taxicab with Rizzo and Gonzo. The door closes and they drive off into the night. Exterior, Nick's cottage. Nick and the boys exit the cab and walk back to the cottage.
Boy, that Tom Joe is a jerk!
Forget him. Did you see that chicken? I felt the sparks flying between us, didn't you, Nick? Nick?
But Nick is stopped, looking back at Gatsby's grounds.
Look.
He glares out at the neighboring mansion. Butlers clean the grounds as a party disperses. The lone figure of a frog outside stands framed on the estate's dock.
Something in his leisurely movements and the secure position of his feet suggested that it was Mr. Gatsby himself, come out to determine what share was his of our local heavens.
Gonzo steps forward and waves. Nick places a finger over his beak, hushing him.
That's him. That's Gatsby.
The three look in awe at the silhouette of this already legendary frog. He's looking out at something, the green light that shines across the bay and in front of the Buchanan home.
I didn't call to him, for he gave a sudden intimation that he was content to be alone. He stretched out his arms toward the dark water in a curious way, and far as I was from him I could have sworn he was trembling. Involuntarily I glanced seaward and distinguished nothing except a single green light, a Newton far away.
Nick gets lost in the allure of the green light. When he looks back, Gatsby is gone.
When I looked once more for Gatsby, he had vanished, and I was alone again in the unquiet darkness.
Boy, I really wish you had subtitles, Nick.
Nick puts his arm around the boys and they all look out at the green light together. Exterior, Valley of the Ashes. The eyes of Dr. T.J. and Eckelberg stare out across a desolate valley of ashes.
Above the gray land and the spasms of bleak dust which drift endlessly over it, you perceive after a moment the eyes of Doctors T.J. and Eckelberg.
While the worn billboard art of the eyes do not move, we hear the distinct, mocking voices of Statler and Waldorf. Look, T.J., here comes another one.
Hey, Eckelberg, do you think that he'll see us as a symbolic manifestation of the eyes of God or one of the viewers themselves?
I don't think you can see anything, judging by the taste and fashion. A straw hat with a velvet suit, he's blinder than a Hemingway bender. They oh-ho-ho laugh together. Tom's automobile passes with Nick, Gonzo, and Rizzo as passengers. Nick glances back at the eyes, lost in thought.
Evidently some wild wag or cultist set them there to fatten their practice in the Borough of Queens, and then sank down into eternal blindness, or forgot them and moved away. But their eyes, dimmed a little by many paintless days under sun and rain, brood on over the solemn dumping ground.
Go ahead, Nick.
What's ahead to look at?
The city, of course. We'll stop off for a little pick-me-up first.
Exterior, George Bear Wilson's garage. Tom pulls into a garage home that reads, George Bear Wilson's Joke Garage, and dings a waiting bell.
George!
Fozzie Bear, known here as George Bear Wilson, runs out.
Ah, Mr. Buchanan, stopping in for some repairs.
Of course. I need my,
Tom searches the car for the first reply he can think of.
my horn. I need my horn fixed.
George walks over and honks Tom's external horn. It works just fine.
Ah, I see the problem.
George holds up a rubber chicken and a whoopee cushion.
Would you prefer rubber chicken or whoopee cushion? Ah!
Chicken!
Tom opens his car door and walks towards the Wilson garage.
You know best, George. I trust you.
George gets to work as Tom, with a growing smile, nears the worn-down shack. A woman built like a brick house, with caked-on makeup and wearing an excessive Friday night party dress, despite it being early morning, leans against the doorway.
Hello, Myrtle.
Myrtle Wilson, 36, smiles back.
Well, hi there.
She leans into Tom now, sharing a hard and passionate kiss. Nick glances back at George, who is obliviously duct taping the rubber chicken to Tom's car and in place of the horn, and Myrtle continues her passionate embrace with Tom.
There was an immediately perceptible vitality about this woman, as if the nerves of her body were continuously smoldering.
Tom walks Myrtle back to the car. Rizzo stares in confusion.
Wait, that's not Miss Daisy.
Fitz, why do we keep having these exposition scenes if you're not even going to try to keep up?
Tom opens the car door and Myrtle, not looking, crushes Rizzo as she sits down. He cries out in muffled screams.
Well, that's one way to shut him up.
George tests the new rubber chicken horn and looks up, seeing Myrtle in the car.
Honey, what are you doing in Mr. Buchanan's car?
Well, Tom here's headed into the city, and you know I like to see my sisters on Sundays. You're so busy with the shop, I don't want to bother.
George looks around at the desolate, empty wasteland before observing Tom for a moment. The bear leans his face into his whoopee cushion, releasing a prolonged toot. The billboard eyes of the doctors glare down on him. You fool, she's in love with Tom.
Of course, but have you seen the bear? No!
They laugh together, and Wilson's cushion runs out of fart.
Well, I see nothing suspicious about that. Have fun, my dear. Tom, stop by sometime and I'll show you my stand-up routine.
Tom and Myrtle burst into absurd, mocking laughter.
Trust me, Wilson. I'll give you a joke funnier than anything you have.
Tom speeds off as he honks his new rubber chicken horn over more absurd laughter. Oh, 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 oh.
That bear's so dumb, he doesn't know he's alive.
Rizzo muffles out beneath Myrtle, gasping for air. George blows into his whoopee cushion as he watches them go. Exterior, New York party apartment. A humble little party for socialites is in full swing. Well, humble for these socialites.
Now this is more like it, my dear.
A jazz record kicks in as Myrtle and Tom jump atop the apartment table and begin a synchronized tap dance. Shuffle off the buffalo. Boom, boom, boom. Nick sips from a glass as he observes the party apartment.
The party was really just for Tom and Myrtle, but he had invited the others because even after all the things he had bought for Myrtle, Tom still had change to spare. What is money if not for spending?
Myrtle turns around and sways her hip. A compressed Rizzo falls off her rear and Gonzo hurries over.
Fitz, are you okay?
Me back.
Through a small group of 5 or so dancing Muppets, an oily woman just as sultry as Myrtle appears.
Most prominent among them was Catherine, Myrtle's sister, who I can describe in no other way than worldly.
Catherine, 30, a pale girl with sticky red hair and pencil-drawn eyebrows, clinks glasses with Nick as she passes.
Painfully dull party, ain't it?
Myrtle and Tom finish tapping and jump down with a thrill.
They bought George.
Oh, Myrtle, why did you ever marry him? No one forced you.
Believe it or not, there was a time when I found him funny. Once.
I still find him hilarious.
Myrtle throws a drink in Tom's face as Catherine leans into Nick, flirting in a hot and breathy whisper.
Neither of them can stand the person they're married to.
Can't they?
Tom laughs.
Nick, if you were any more of a fool, you'd be a woman.
Myrtle refills her drink and again throws it in Tom's face, like a boss-ass bitch that she is.
I don't leave George because I don't know what he'll do with himself. 11 years we lived in that garage, and 11 years he said he's going to be a comedian one day.
Tom unleashes an absurd, cruel laugh.
And I only Daisy because I love money. We were the prettiest and the richest buttes of Louisville. It was only natural that Daisy be mine and our fortunes be mine as well. For me, Daisy Faye Buchanan is money.
Daisy, 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 that you talk about?
Tom bellows out another brutish laugh and walks over to the record player. He picks up the plate currently playing and smashes it against the wall before pulling out a new one.
You know, I can do more than talk.
A playful jazzy tune overtakes the room.
Another musical number already?
Fitz, the entire movie is a musical.
It's not too late to stop this.
Tom pulls out a fat wallet that is near bursting with green bills. He begins singing, "It's Easy Spending Green," a song in the tune of the classic, "It's Not Easy Being Green."
It's not easy being green. Having on me each day the color of the leaves.
Tom picks up the telephone and suddenly a parade of lobby penguins march in with various trays filled with colorful caviar, expensive jewels, and yipping Muppet puppets.
When I think it could be nice, I'd buy red or yellow or gold or something much more colorful than that.
Myrtle rushes over and grabs one of the puppies, nestling in her arms, and Tom shells out green to the penguin.
It's not easy spending green. It seems you bring in so many extraordinary things.
Tom is shelling out cash on everything. One penguin waddles up to him with a everything menu that Tom promptly opens. Tom fingers his way through it, whatever. Anyway, passing such item listings as Spider-Man actor and Jay-Z song licensing. And he lands on musical number backup dancers and shells out the cash. Almost instantly, flapper girls dressed as Lady Liberty kick through the doorway and interlock arms with Myrtle and Catherine as Tom sings on.
And people tend to notice you over because you're standing out like flashy sparkles in the water or stars in the sky.
Nick sits down and he's beginning to nod off.
I can't tell if Nick is monologuing or just falling asleep.
Hey, I've got an idea.
Tom joins the dancing girls, pointing out to the fading Nick.
Green is the color of Lady Liberty. Green can buy you cool, can buy you friends. Green can buy something as big as a skyscraper or something important as a car, copyright extension laws.
The dancers emit a Mickey Mouse laugh at this mention. And Rizzo flips through the menu.
No. Oh, that's not nice, but no. And there you are. Ooh, and one day shipping, I'll take that. Tom is mine.
Tom bellows out his final lyrics, but our focus is on the fading Nick as money, drinks, and clothes rain around him.
When green is all there is to have, it can make you wonder why. But why wonder? Why wonder?
Nick yawns and rests his head on a pile of money.
I've got green. It'll do fine. It's beautiful. And it's what I want to see.
Nick is fully asleep now, and the distant laughter of Statler and Waldorf echo in his subconscious as we fade to black. Fade to black. In the darkness, we see the green light flashing.
Party! Party!
An attack of colorful fireworks suddenly overtakes the green light, and we fade into interior Nick's cottage. Nick groans in bed as fireworks and cheers erupt from Gatsby's mansion outside.
What on earth?
Artillery! We're under attack!
Gonzo and Rizzo fall out of their bunk beds and pull World War I helmets and gear out from under their frame. There's a knock at the door, and Nick grabs his head as he gets up.
Don't worry, guys. It's just the door.
Oh, my baggage must be here.
Rizzo rushes past Nick as he shuffles to the door. He jumps up and pulls the door open to reveal a Gatsby butler holding an envelope on a silver tray.
An invitation from Mr. Gatsby.
Nick accepts the letter and opens it.
Dear Mr. Carraway, I would be honored if you could attend my little party. Yours sincerely, J. Gatsby.
I'll inform the master you are on your way then.
The butler walks off.
Wait!
Nick, still in his pajamas, rushes outside and kicks a box by his door in the process.
Yes, my package came.
Exterior, Nick's cottage. Rizzo rips the box apart as Nick catches up to the butler, who pours a glass and offers it to him.
Hold up now. I just came from a party. I don't need another glass. I need an aspirin.
The butler laughs.
I assure you, Mr. Carraway, you've never been to a party like this one.
He disappears back beyond the hedges, separating the Gatsby estate and Nick's cottage. Golden light glows beyond the leaves. Rizzo cheers triumphantly as he lifts his package.
What'd you get?
Rizzo holds a book copy up of The Great Gatsby.
Now we can finally know what Nick is thinking.
They look up and they see that Nick is gone, the light of the party growing in intensity over the hedges.
Where'd he go?
Hold on, I'll find out.
Rizzo flips ahead in the book.
Daisy's house?
They run off in the opposite direction and suddenly stop.
Guess we already did that scene.
Rizzo pulls the book back out and flips ahead 20 pages.
Gatsby's house!
They run off towards the hedge entrance. Exterior, Gatsby's mansion. Gonzo and Rizzo enter into an unbelievable scene, the kind of party you only see or think possible in the movies. Nick looks in equal awe, standing a few feet in front of them. Hundreds of men and Muppets dance around a pool. Confetti rains from the sky, appearing to fall in tune with the music. Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem play a wild jazz tune from floating pedestals on the pool water. Nick enters into this manic peak of the roaring 20s.
Quick, what's he thinking?
Rizzo flips through several pages and reads ahead.
I was one of the few guests who had actually been invited. People were not invited. They went there. They got into automobiles which bore them to the Long Island, and somehow they ended up at Gatsby's door.
The narration goes to Nick now as he moves through the crowd. Animal is gone wild on the drums and the crowd responds in tune. Long lines of automobiles pass through and drop off new guests of every shape and size, man and Muppet. This party isn't a small affair like Tom Buchanan's show of indulgence. Mr. Gatsby's little party has every PG appropriate excess on display, and everyone is having the time of their life, and the energy is infectious.
Once there, they were introduced by somebody who knew Gatsby, and after that they conducted themselves according to the rules of behavior associated with amusement parks. Sometimes they came and went without having met Gatsby at all, came for the party with the simplicity of heart that was its own ticket of admission.
Rizzo looks up from the book and wipes a tear from his eye.
Who knew Nick had such a way with words?
What happens at the end?
Rizzo flips ahead.
So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into... Man, something about a boat.
Yeah, I hope we don't go with DiCaprio for Gatsby then.
Nick motions to the butler, who gave him the invitation.
Excuse me, where is Mr. Gatsby?
Mr. Gatsby? Oh, I've never actually met the master of the house.
I had to find out who was behind this fabulous party, but it appeared none of his guests had ever even seen Mr. Gatsby.
Link Hogthrob jumps in Link's face.
Mr. Gatsby, I heard he was a German spy in the war, cousin of the Kaiser himself.
A gossip woman leans over Nick.
I heard he killed a man and stole his millions.
A playful but sharp laugh breaks through the music.
I thought you might be here.
Nick looks up to see Jordan passing by. She wiggles a come closer finger and enters the massive Gatsby home. Interior Gatsby library. Jordan saunters into a massive library filled with busts of great men and hundreds of books lining its walls. If you look closely, you'll see these books are only numerous copies of A Christmas Carol, Treasure Island, and The Wizard of Oz. Oh, Becker, you did a really good job. That's funny as shit. A lone frog stands by a fireplace at the room's end.
Jordan, wait.
Nick runs up to Jordan and catches his breath. A thin smile crosses her lips. Gonzo and Rizzo enter now, and we see Jordan with Nick.
What happened? What happens next?
Rizzo holds up the book and flips ahead.
Yo ho ho in a bottle of rum.
Jordan says that?
Rizzo flips the book around and looks over to a shelf.
Whoops. No, I grabbed Treasure Island by mistake.
Rizzo looks over and sees Scooter wearing owl-eyed glasses in a leather chair and reading The Great Gatsby.
I don't understand this East versus West thing.
Hey, give me that back.
Having fun, Mr. Carraway? I like large parties. They're so intimate. At small parties, there isn't any privacy.
Jordan wraps an arm over him, running her nails through his hair.
At a small party, it might be easier for me to find our host.
Jordan's eyes light up at this.
You still haven't met Mr. Gatsby. Oh, the rumors you must be hearing. I bet you must think he's a 9-foot-tall hairy ogre.
Sweetums, the 9-foot-tall hairy ogre Muppet, crosses his arms and storms out with a huff. Jordan leans in and whispers into Nick's ear.
I've just heard the most amazing thing.
Another rumor?
No, absolute fact. And from Mr. Gatsby himself.
So you have met him?
She plants a sharp kiss on his cheek and quickly trots off.
Meet me tomorrow after dinner. We'll talk more then.
Wait, Jordan, after dinner where? You're being incredibly vague.
But Jordan is gone. Nick walks to the large library window and looks out at the party in full swing. He can see Jordan attempting to drag Camilla the chicken away as she swims atop a fountain blast.
There was dancing now in the garden, couples holding each other tortuously, fashionably, and keeping in the corners, and a great number of single girls dancing individualistically or relieving the orchestra for a moment of the burden of the banjo.
The figure of the frog moves in slowly behind Nick.
Between the numbers, people were doing stunts all over the garden, while a happy, vacuous burst of laughter rose to the summer sky.
Scooter, Rizzo, and Gonzo all read the book now.
Wow, this guy has a way of words.
Scooter calls out to Nick.
No, real. Take your pick.
They're real, but is Mr. Gatsby?
The frog's image becomes visible in the reflection of the window glass, his voice unmistakable.
Your face is familiar. Weren't you in the 3rd Division during the war?
Yes, 9th Battalion.
I thought so. I was in the 7th Infantry until June 1918.
There's a long pause. Nick fidgets with his drink.
Can I get you a drink?
Oh, no thanks, old sport. I never do drink at my own parties.
Nick is immediately taken aback.
You're...
Gatsby the Frog, obviously Kermit, holds out a green hand.
Jay Gatsby, a pleasure to finally meet you, neighbor.
Oh, I didn't realize. I'm Nick Carraway.
Nick enthusiastically shakes Gatsby's hand.
He smiled understandingly, much more than understandingly. It was one of those rare smiles with a quality of eternal reassurance in it that you may come across 4 or 5 times in life.
Gatsby does Kermit's classic scrunch face.
It faced, or seemed to face, the whole external world for an instant, and then concentrated on you with an irresistible prejudice in your favor. It understood you just so far as you wanted to be understood, believed in you as you would like to believe in yourself, and assured you that it had precisely the impression of you that, at your best, you hoped to convey.
Rizzo lets out a swooning "Aww" as he reads the book.
Aww. Wow, he must really love Jordan.
Fitz, Jordan already left. He's talking about Gatsby here.
Oh.
I thought you knew, old sport. I'm not a very good host, am I? Say, how about I make it up to you? We can take out the hydroplane, play paintball, go out for a ride?
Gatsby looks at Gonzo and Rizzo glancing up from the book.
Your friends, too, of course.
Before Nick can reply, the butler marches up to Gatsby.
Sir, a telephone call from Chicago.
My apologies, Nick. I must take this. Tomorrow, then?
Nick shyly nods as he watches Gatsby walk coolly away. A butler walks up to Gatsby with a telephone on a silver tray.
I would have accepted without question the information that Gatsby sprang from the swamps of Louisiana. That was comprehensible. But young men didn't drift coolly out of nowhere and buy a place on Long Island.
Gatsby does Kermit's arms fling in the air scream as he talks on the phone. Ah! Nick considers if he should stay, but upon seeing Gatsby busy, he moves to leave.
Oh, it says Nick's leaving.
They look up and see Nick exiting the room, then hurry to their feet themselves, tugging the book away from Scooter.
Hey, I'm not done.
It rips in half. Gonzo and Rizzo gasp. Exterior Gatsby's mansion. The party has hit a slower tempo. Also tempo, sure. Let's go. Everyone moves in a daze as Dr. Teeth and the gang play a soft tune, for them, that is. Nick looks oddly agitated by the sight of lovers and beautiful young people.
Girls were putting their heads on men's shoulders in a puppyish way, and girls were swooning backward playfully into men's arms, knowing that someone would arrest their falls.
Nick looks back at the library window and sees Gatsby pacing as he hangs up the phone. The song concludes and the party begins to disperse. Gatsby taps on the glass.
Good night out there, old sport. I'll be seeing you tomorrow, then.
No one swooned backward on Gatsby, though. And no French bob touched Gatsby's shoulder, and no singing quartets were formed with Gatsby's head for one link. He was alone at his own party.
Nick nods his head.
Good night, Gatsby.
Gatsby smiles.
He smiled, and suddenly there seemed to be a pleasant significance in having been among the last to go, as if he had desired it all along.
An automobile suddenly crashes into the front ditch as guests begin to pour out. Bunsen, Honeydew, and Beaker scream inside.
Beaker, a most noble experiment. You need the steering wheel attached to drive the car.
Beaker holds up a car wheel.
Me.
Nick trudges back to his cabin. Gonzo and Rizzo walk by his side. Rizzo looks at the destroyed book and sighs.
Nick, you own a boat?
No, I'd tell you if I did. I'm one of the few honest people I know.
Did he mean to say that one out loud?
Exterior, Valley of the Ashes. The eyes of the doctors again glare down from their billboard sign, judging whatever approaches next. Look, here comes a high roller.
Someone tell me needs to roll in something else. No! Oh,
Ho, 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 ho. They oh-ho laugh together as Gatsby enters frame, cycling a gold-plated bicycle with Nick sitting on the rear seat. Gonzo and Rizzo ride in the bicycle behind them.
He was balancing himself with that resourcefulness of movement that is so peculiarly American. This quality was continually breaking through his punctilious manner, in the shape of restlessness. He was never quite still. There was always a tapping foot somewhere, the impatient opening and closing of a hand.
Look, old sport. What do you think of me, anyhow?
Well, I don't quite know you well enough to have an opinion yet.
Gatsby scrunches his face.
Okay, then. You just always take long pauses, like you're thinking.
Gonzo looks over at Rizzo, who shrugs and holds up the ripped book.
I'll tell you God's truth about my life. I don't want you getting the wrong idea about me, old sport.
They pass Wilson's joke garage. Nick can see inside that Myrtle is fast asleep while George Bear practices stand-up.
I am the son of some very wealthy frogs. All gone now. I went to Oxford because that's where they all went. Then came the war, old sport. I won the medal for...
Gatsby drones on as Nick thinks.
At this point I knew why Jordan had believed he was lying. He swallowed or choked on his words as though they bothered him. With this doubt, his whole statement fell to pieces, and I wondered if there wasn't something sinister about him after all.
Anyway, that's when Disney bought the rights and things have been leaning towards streaming, so we changed our marketing approach.
Nick stays silent as Gatsby slows the pace on their bike.
Would you like to see my medal, old sport? Oh, I keep these things on me just in case anyone should ask.
Gatsby pulls out a diploma from Oxford, Valor Medal from the war, and various photos from his adventures across Europe.
It's all true. I thought...
that I was making it up. I'm going to ask something big of you today, old sport, so I thought you ought to know about me. You'll find out all about it when you talk to Miss Baker.
How do you know I'm meeting Jordan? Wait, you're not in love with Miss Baker, are you?
No, old sport. My heart was wed to another long ago.
Exterior, Queensboro Bridge. They cross over the Queensboro Bridge. Nick takes in the beauty of the city again and then looks at Gatsby in odd admiration. Cars line up behind him.
Anything can happen now that we've slid over this bridge. Anything at all. Even Gatsby could happen.
The cars behind them honk and drivers scream as the bike group moves at a breakneck speed of 5 miles per hour. Exterior, Speakeasy. Late afternoon, Great Gatsby, the Great Gatsby, I'm just going to add that in there for shits and giggles, lead the boys down a steamy back alley and towards the large metal door. Gatsby does a secret knock, and a visor space slides open. Uncle Deadly's eyes glare down on him.
Password?
Phenomena.
Spell it.
Oh, for the love of... I'm Jay Gatsby.
A thick Hispanic accent breaks out from behind the door.
What is you doing? Open the door, okay? It's Gatsby. You know him, okay?
The door slides open, revealing Pepe the King Prawn, known here as Meyer Wolf Prawn, in an impressive white suit.
Nick Carraway, this is my dear friend, Senor Meyer Wolf Prawn.
Excuse me. Nick shakes one of Meyer Wolf Prawn's 4 hands. Rizzo looks through the torn book.
Wait, I have this page.
What's Nick thinking?
Rizzo's eyes go wide.
Let's skip that one.
Interior Speakeasy. Muppets sing a jazzy cover of Phenomena as Gatsby puts an arm around Wolf Prawn and Nick, leading everyone inside.
Apologies for earlier, Mr. Gatsby. Your table is ready as always.
Everyone sits down. Wolf Prawn eyes Nick up and down and suddenly sniffs him.
Hola, Nicholas. Mr. Gatsby tells me you have some business you'd like to discuss, okay?
No, Meyer, that's another man. Nick is here on other business with me.
I'm sorry. I still don't understand what's going on here.
I know. You are asking, is he a wolf or is he a prawn? Okay? A king prawn.
A long unanswered pause. Meyer simply nods his head.
Listen, old sport. I know you must be terribly frustrated right now.
Gatsby smiles in an attempt to calm Nick.
There was the smile again, but this time, I held out against it.
Nick sips his coffee as Gatsby's smile holds.
I don't like mysteries is all. And I don't understand why you won't come out frankly and tell me what you want. Why has it all got to come through Miss Baker?
A waitress walks over and taps Gatsby on the shoulder.
Mr. Gatsby, Detroit on the phone.
Gatsby sighs.
Excuse me.
Gatsby awkwardly walks away, leaving the boys with Wolf Prawn. Wolf Prawn crosses his forearms, revealing cufflinks made of human molars.
Are you in the business of dentistry, Mr. Wolfbron?
I am dentist? No, okay?
But, you have teeth on your suit.
Oh, he's not mine. So you know Mr. Gatsby long, yes? Okay?
No, I'm actually new to New York.
I know Gatsby a long time before he had anything, in fact. He's a good amigo, handsome, loyal, and a gentleman. Frog.
Before he had anything. Gatsby told me he came from a wealthy family.
Wolf Prawn pauses at this and suddenly jumps up.
I must go. I leave you young men to talk about your sports and chicas. And if I leave anything for you, that is, okay.
Wolf Prawn lets out an absurd laugh.
Gatsby?
Okay.
Who is he anyhow?
Gatsby returns. Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Gatsby, who is he anyhow? An actor?
Technically. Oh, he's a gambler, old sport. He fixed the 1919 World Series.
I've heard about that.
Yeah, we read ahead in the book.
How'd he get away with it?
By playing, of course. No rules against a four-armed pitcher.
Nick spots Tom across the room, laughing with a crowd of upper crust pigs as they play billiards.
Tom? Hey, Tom!
Tom looks over and Gatsby immediately has booked it, flailing his arms in the air as he runs.
Tom, I'd like you to meet Mr. Gatsby.
But Nick looks over and Gatsby is gone. Jordan Baker, leaning on a golf club, stands in his place.
Going on about, Nick? I met Jordan before. Honestly, if that man were any more of a fool, he'd be a woman.
Uproarious laughter from the pigs. Tom is vindicated.
See? They like that joke.
Jordan grabs Nick's hand.
I feel as if Mr. Gatsby is overcomplicating things.
Does have a flair for the dramatic. I'd say it's rubbing off.
She leads him up to the roof.
Come on, I've got so much to tell.
Exterior Times Square rooftop. Jordan sets down a golf ball on the rooftop.
Par?
She swings. Exterior Times Square. Bubba the bear sits in a much larger automobile now.
There we are, Mr. Bobo. An automobile fit for any size bear.
Jordan's ball smashes the windshield, shattering its glass.
I don't have insurance.
Exterior Times Square rooftop. Camilla pushes another ball forward with her beak as Gonzo and Rizzo politely golf clap. Yeah.
You know, I got accused of cheating at my last tournament. They said I moved my ball over before a putt.
Is this relevant to Mr. Gatsby or Mr. Wolfbron or any of this grand game you two seem to be playing?
It's relevant because I remember everything. I remember where my ball landed. I remember the sound of your second-rate shoes walking into Tom and Daisy's parlor. And I remember when I first saw Gatsby.
She hits another ball and there is a prolonged yell below.
Well, why shouldn't you? From what I understand, Gatsby just started throwing parties this summer.
Camilla sets up another ball.
But I didn't meet Gatsby this year. We met 5 years ago, in 1917.
Camilla doesn't clear the way in time and is launched with the golf ball when Jordan swings again. She balks out and flying into Times Square.
My love!
Oh, Gonzo and Rizzo rush to a fire escape and hurry after her. Go get her, Gonzo.
I met him in October of 1917 in Louisville at the home of a young Miss Daisy Fay.
Nick looks genuinely stunned.
Daisy?
Jordan turns from him and looks out at the city lights. She sings a song called Can't Repeat the Past.
Long ago, there was a time when future seemed unsure. Men marched and girls cried to a war that brought no cure. Looking back, it's silly, remembering this time. The way we let it slip away, it sure feels like a crime.
Fade into flashback, exterior Daisy's home, Louisville, 1917. Men in World War I uniforms dance with beautiful girls at an outdoor Southern social for soldiers before deployment. Gatsby, dressed also in soldier's uniform, looks out at a long-haired Miss Daisy, fanning herself on the steps of her home.
But you can't repeat the past. You can't repeat the past. Best to leave it only in our memory, else it become our enemy.
For Gatsby and Daisy, this is love at first sight. For a younger Jordan, surrounded by her own suitors, watches Gatsby as he moves towards Miss Daisy. Daisy lowers her fan, and Gatsby offers her his hand.
You can't repeat the past. You can't repeat what's gone. Wish it well and leave those dreams alone.
Miss Daisy accepts Gatsby's hand. Fade back to exterior Times Square rooftop. Jordan hides her face as tears drip down her cheeks. Nick keeps his distance, but he can't look away from her.
Daisy's family was holding a social for the soldiers headed off to war, and Gatsby was among them. He looked at Daisy in a way that every young girl wants to be looked at. And I told you, I remember everything. And I can promise you, I'll never forget the way he looked at her. It was more than love. It was destiny.
What happened?
Jordan blinks away her tears.
Gatsby went to war, and something kept him away after the fighting passed. Something kept him from her.
Fade into flashback, exterior beauty mirror. Tom Buchanan gets down on one knee, offering Daisy a magnificent diamond.
A year went by, and Daisy Fay was engaged to Tom Buchanan, with more pomp and circumstance than Louisville had ever seen.
Tom wraps an enormous string of pearls around Daisy's neck.
The day before the wedding, he gave her a string of pearls valued at $350,000.
Exterior Daisy's hotel room. Miss Daisy sits in a wedding dress, reading a letter stained with her tears.
That wasn't the only thing Daisy received that night. I came into her room an hour before rehearsal and found her sobbing over a letter. And the letter was from Gatsby.
Miss Daisy screams and karate chops the pearls from her neck, scattering them across the floor.
What was in the letter?
Jordan, dressed as a bridesmaid, runs over and attempts to calm Miss Daisy.
I don't know, but it was enough for Daisy to want to change her mind.
The preacher marrying Tom and Daisy walks in and she immediately karate chops him.
Not enough to keep it changed, apparently.
Exterior hotel bathroom. Miss Daisy shakes in the tub as Jordan and the other bridesmaids collect her pearls and sew them back together. Miss Daisy's mother paces back and forth, berating her. Jordan begins singing again.
When we move on to the future, the past begins to shine. There's hope in the heart. I can again make it mine.
Interior chapel. Miss Daisy looks dazed. As Tom says his vows, photography bulbs flash, drawing forced smiles from her.
But the longer days go, the farther those moments become. Bringing them back now just makes me feel glum.
With each forced smile, Miss Daisy gets better and better at making them pass for genuine joy until it appears that they really are genuine. Loving smiles flash. A still black and white photo of Tom and Daisy's wedding. Fade back to exterior Times Square rooftop.
You can't repeat the past. You can't repeat the past. You think you have it, then it leaves your grasp. Best to leave it be, best to follow through. You can't repeat the past if you want to keep me.
Nick gets closer to Jordan now. He hands her a handkerchief, and she wipes tears from her eyes.
Strange coincidence. Gatsby buying that house right across the bay from her.
It's not a coincidence at all.
Nick realizes. He looks up to the stars, dim in the city sky.
He wants to know if you'll have Daisy to your house some afternoon and let him come over. You see, he went through all of this because he's afraid. He's afraid he waited too long. He thought you might be offended. He's a regular tough under it all.
The modesty of the demand shook me. He had waited 5 years and bought a mansion where he dispensed starlight to casual moths so that he could come over some afternoon to a stranger's garden.
I think he half expected her to wander into one of his parties some night, but she never did. Then he began asking people casually if they knew her and if I was the first one he found. Of course, I immediately brought up that you were her cousin and that he had to meet you. He had to see you, Nick, so that he can see Daisy.
Suddenly, I wasn't thinking of Daisy and Gatsby anymore, but of this clean, hard, limited person who dealt in universal skepticism and who leaned back jauntily just within the circle of my arm. A phrase began to beat in my ears.
Nick says this line out loud.
There are only the pursued, the pursuing, the busy, and the tired.
What's that?
Just something I was thinking.
About Mr. Gatsby?
About you. Unlike Gatsby and Tom, I had no girl whose disembodied face floated along the dark cornices and blinding signs, and so I drew up this girl beside me. Her scornful mouth smiled up.
Nick leans and touches Jordan's face.
So, Nick Carraway, you'll do it then? For Mr. Gatsby?
Nick kisses her and she kisses back, passion breaking through her usually cold exterior. Gonzo and Rizzo climb back up the fire escape with Camilla. They all snack on pizza slices.
Guys, we found Camilla along with a great pizza place that...
They see the lovers embraced in the electric New York glow.
Ugh, romance scene.
Fitz, the movie's a love story.
It's not too late to stop this.
Exterior Nick's cottage. Nick sits with Gonzo and Rizzo on the front porch. The three of them obsessively check their pocket watches in unison. It is raining heavy. A man mows Nick's lawn through the rain.
Who's that guy?
Gatsby sent him. He wants everything perfect for Daisy.
Gonzo and Rizzo peer over and see Gatsby hiding in the hedges as he glares out at the cottage and checks his own watch.
He said he'd be here any moment now, and we have only a matter of time until Daisy arrives. I was very specific that she come alone.
A large, colorful truck pulls up.
That here?
A florist steps out carrying a massive floral display.
Flowers for Mr. Carraway?
Put them inside.
Another truck pulls up and a baker jumps out with a giant cake in hand.
Cake and tea for Mr. Carraway!
Yet another truck pulls in and a clockmaker steps out.
Run for the clocks for Carraway!
A cable man pulls up.
Cable man for Mr. Carraway. I can get you Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus.
Gonzo and Rizzo, ooh, at this. Nick looks baffled as more and more trucks pull up. Nick's cottage a little bit later. Nick sits nearly buried in a tomb of useless, expensive things, coats, silks, decorations, and anything else Gatsby thinks Daisy might need or be impressed by.
Do you both feel all this is rather unnecessary?
Gonzo and Rizzo pull up the Muppet movie on a new flat screen TV.
I don't know what you mean, Nick.
A hurried knock is at the door. Nick removes himself from the sarcophagus of excess and he goes to answer it. Gatsby stands in a white flannel suit on the porch.
Morning, old sport. Everything good?
Well, the grass is fine, if that's what you mean.
Nick observes Gatsby.
He was pale, and there was dark signs of sleeplessness beneath his eyes.
Oh, she's not coming, old sport. I'll just go.
Gatsby turns to walk away.
Gatsby, don't be silly.
As the trucks that supplied Nick's house leave, a new white car enters behind them. Daisy rides in the back.
She's here.
And Gatsby runs in and slams the door. He looks absolutely miserable. Nick sits Gatsby down.
Stay here. I'll go get her. You'll do just fine, Gatsby.
Exterior Nick's cottage. Nick steps outside as Miss Daisy's driver opens up the car door for her. She steps out wearing a lavender hat brimmed with flower buds.
Is this absolutely where you live, my dearest one?
Nick takes out an umbrella and walks over to guide Daisy in.
Why did I have to come alone?
That's the mystery of Castle Carraway. You like mysteries?
I adore surprises so long as they're good ones. Do you have a surprise for moi?
Nick smiles as they enter his home, interior Nick's cottage. Nick walks her in and holds up a showman's hand to where he assumes Gatsby is standing. Miss Daisy's face scrunches at the excess items.
You're a hoarder. But, oh, Nicky, such nice flowers.
She sniffs the roses. Nick looks around confused. No Gatsby, just Gonzo and Rizzo on the sofa. Nick whispers out the corner of his mouth.
Where is Gatsby?
A sudden knocking at the door. Gonzo and Rizzo point to the knocks. Nick opens the door, revealing an absolutely drenched Gatsby.
He glared tragically into my eyes.
Nicky, who is it? Better not be Tom.
Nick nods in support.
You can do this.
Gatsby nods too and walks past him, revealing Miss Daisy framed amongst Nick's most gorgeous and prominent flowers. At the sight of Gatsby, the flowers in her own hat blossom. There is a long pause, and I apologize because before it is a moment, it seems like they might not speak at all.
It's certain. I'm awfully glad to see you again.
Yes, we've met before.
Nick squints his eyes. Gatsby leans against the fireplace mantel and knocks over a clock, which he quickly catches.
Oh, close one. That could have been oddly symbolic.
He backs up, bumping into a grandfather clock, which tips over, slamming into another clock, domino, dropping clocks down to destruction until 10 different clocks lay in waste around them. Gonzo and Rizzo cover their eyes in shame. Miss Daisy bursts into hard laughter now, tears brim from her eyes.
Oh, Miss Daisy, don't cry.
He takes out a handkerchief and walks over.
I'm crying because I'm happy. It's been such a long time.
5 years this November.
Gatsby dabs Miss Daisy's tears away.
I never thought I'd see you again.
Well, I never thought that.
They lean in together as they hold hands. The love and history these two have shared is immediately evident.
There was a change in Gatsby that was simply confounding. He literally glowed, without a word or a gesture of exultation. A new well-being radiated from him.
Rizzo leans over to Gonzo.
Wait, that's not Tom. That Daisy is looking lovingly at.
Fitz, you have the book. How are you still not getting this?
Rizzo holds up the ripped book.
All I know is we're going to Gatsby's house next.
Gatsby calls out to everyone, but doesn't look away from Miss Daisy.
I'd like to show you my house.
Exterior Gatsby's mansion. It stops raining as the group walks through the hedges and into Gatsby's grand estate. A rainbow descends down on the mansion.
This huge place there? That's yours?
Gatsby modestly puts his hand in his pocket.
You like it?
I love it. I thought Tom and I were rich. But my dear, how do you live in this big house all alone with your massive fortune? Tom could never.
Well, tell Tom it isn't the size of a man's wealth, but how he uses it.
Gonzo instantly slaps down a hand, covering Rizzo's lips.
Don't you dare.
So, where shall we begin?
The music room?
Excellent choice.
Gatsby snaps to a butler to come forward.
Wake up, Klipspringer. The lady would like some music.
Interior Gatsby's music room. A grand golden organ. Rowlf the dog, known here as Klipspringer the dog, stretches his paws out over the keys. Gatsby stands with Miss Daisy in the middle of the music room's dance floor as the others watch.
Kind of out of practice.
I'm sure you're fine, Klipspringer.
You trying to make out down there? Or just set the mood?
Klipspringer, stop speaking.
Righto.
Well, Klipspringer begins playing a tune called Anything You've Ever Wanted. Gatsby sings as he leads Miss Daisy in a waltz.
Miss Daisy, you're everything I've ever wanted.
I'm everything you ever wanted.
So for the only thing I ever wanted, I've got anything you've ever wanted. I have.
Montage. Interior Gatsby's dining hall. Butlers shine Gatsby's plates.
Fancy plates.
Interior Gatsby's closet. Gatsby opened his closet.
Hand-sewn suits.
Exterior Gatsby's mansion. Gatsby leans on his JG engraved plate.
Shiny gates.
Does this not sound like everything is beautiful? At the ballet, interior Gatsby's kitchen. Continuous. Gatsby pushes down on an orange squeezer which shoots juice into Rizzo's eye.
Fresh squeezed fruits. Name a thing, and I've got it.
Name a thing, and I've bought it.
That's right.
Do you have many horses with little bows on the manes?
Exterior stables. Gatsby brushes the hair of an adorable mini horse.
For your pleasure, imported right from the plains.
Do you have caviar, expensive wines, and whole food all the time?
Interior Gatsby's dining hall. Butlers uncover various trays of a 5-course meal.
Served up for you when you like your cut choice or prime.
Footman.
Interior Gatsby's mansion hall. Penguin footmen tap up the hall, past Gatsby and Daisy.
More than one.
Airplane.
Exterior airway strip. Sam Eagle lands his plane in the runway as Gatsby waves.
Take you anywhere you wanna be.
The clock, Big Ben.
Exterior Gatsby's grounds. Gatsby stands at the foot at the exact Big Ben structure.
Straight from London.
The state of Maine.
Gatsby holds up a deed reading State of Maine.
It belongs to me, Miss Daisy. I've got anything you've ever wanted.
Anything I've ever wanted.
And all I've ever wanted was you.
Montage end. Interior Gatsby's library. Dance interlude. Get it. Miss Daisy and Gatsby waltz through the library area. Marion the librarian status, except with Piggy, who's named Daisy. Scooter remains where he was the other night, reading with a worried look, the pages he ripped away.
Mr. Gatsby.
But Gatsby and Daisy are lost in the dance as Scooter holds up a page.
Maybe don't use your pull near the end of the Act 3, Mr. Gatsby?
Interior Gatsby's bedroom. Gatsby opens a massive closet filled with an expensive collection of costumes from previous Muppet films.
I've got a man in England who buys me clothes. He sends over a selection of things at the beginning of each season.
What have you got?
Gatsby sings again.
Why, anything you've ever wanted, of course.
Egyptian cotton.
Gatsby throws down a cotton shirt.
I haven't forgotten.
Flannel wear.
Gatsby throws down a flannel shirt.
Do you prefer the chest bare?
Japanese kimono.
Gatsby throws down a kimono. It's revealed that all the clothes that Gatsby has been throwing have just been falling on Rizzo and Gonzo, who are being buried beneath the pile.
Yeah, but this season, that's a no-no.
So many cool shirts, they're everything I've ever want.
So much to buy, but I only mean to flaunt for you. I did everything I ever wanted because I only ever wanted you.
I've had everything I've ever wanted, but now I have it. I realize it wasn't true.
They hold each other.
Oh, Gatsby, you did all this for moi?
I did, Miss Daisy. I did.
Nick watches for a moment, then turns and walks out of the room, leaving the two lost loves alone to have their privacy. Exterior, Gatsby's dock. Nick stands on the dock. A mist has rolled in from the rain, blocking off the green light. Regardless, Nick still searches for it.
The colossal significance of that light had now vanished forever. Compared to the great distance that had separated him from Daisy, it had seemed very near to her, almost touching her. Now it was again just a green light on a dock.
Gonzo and Rizzo pulls shirts off themselves as they walk down the dock.
He's forgotten all about me, Gatsby has.
Well, can you blame him?
There were moments in there where I would see them together and Daisy looked as if she had tunneled short of his dreams. Not through her own fault, but because of the colossal vitality of his illusion. No amount of fire or freshness can challenge what a man will store up in his ghostly heart.
Rizzo leans over to Gonzo.
We might need to get the clip notes instead of the novel, because I don't understand a word he is saying.
I don't think we're meant to get everything we ever wanted. Else, what is there to build character? What makes me?
Nick hangs his head and looks up, again desperately searching for the green light. Nothing. But down the distant road, headlights break into view. Screaming patrons cheer as the automobiles round up into Gatsby's lawn. Gatsby. Animal yells as a pair of sultry flappers hang on his side. Come on, Animal, get in your groupies.
Woman! Woman!
There it is. And the next party of the decade is already beginning in Gatsby's yard. The usual suspects have returned, along with a new guest.
Tom?
Tom Buchanan exits his automobile and approaches the mansion.
Tom!
Nick runs down the dock. Exterior, Gatsby's mansion. Tom turns around and Nick runs up. He's obviously been pre-gaming.
Nick, didn't think you'd see me in West Egg anytime soon, did you?
Jordan exits a car behind him and begins to wink. And walks to Nick. I'm reading wrong.
I tried to stop him.
I heard Daisy was spending the afternoon with you, and I thought I'd drop by. Turns out there's a party.
He rustles both Jordan and Nick's hair.
So this must be where this Gatsby fellow I've heard so much about throws his circus romps. I like to compare pocketbooks. Say, where's Daisy?
Tommy!
Tom spins around and sees Gatsby and Miss Daisy looking stunned and standing arm in arm.
Oh, Mr. Gatsby here was just walking me arm in arm so I could find Nick for a dance. Don't you want to dance, Nicky? Don't you?
I did not want to dance. Yeah, sure, Daisy.
She forcefully sweeps Nick off her feet and into the crowd. Jordan grabs Rizzo and Gonzo's hands, leading them off.
Come on, let's leave the rich men be to discuss whatever rich men do. Which isn't much, I imagine.
There is a long, awkward silence between Tom and Gatsby as they stand at the edge of the party.
I didn't know my wife was at this party.
Well, I didn't know you'd be at this party.
Gonzo and Rizzo loudly boo as Jordan leads them off.
Your lovely wife was visiting my neighbor, Mr. Carraway, and I invited her over. You see, we have all sorts of people here. My parties are quite the talk of the town. Heads of state, gangsters, famous film stars. Hey, there's one.
And Gatsby points at, well, a real actor who Tom's actor has worked with. Well, I'm going to just put Gene Kelly up in here in this bitch because he's my favorite. Partying with Dr. Teeth and the band. Yeah.
Never seen his pictures.
Mm-hmm.
How about her? She's quite the leading lady.
Gatsby points at Debbie Reynolds, because, you know, she done some shit too. And talking with Sweetums.
Not hot at all.
Oh, him?
And Gatsby points at, well, Donald O'Connor, since we're just gonna go with a full singing in the rain moment here.
Listen here, Frog. I don't know anyone at this West Egg menagerie of yours. I don't want to know them. The only person I know is my wife. And I don't like that she seems to know you.
You're right. She does know me.
And Tom's eyes grow angry at this, but he maintains his cool. Miss Daisy and the others return from the dance floor.
Things seem tense.
Not at all, my dear. In fact, Mr. Gatsby and I were just saying we should take a trip into the city together. He and I have a lot in common, I wager.
Well, that's a marvelous evening, mon amour. Until next time, Tom and I will be counting the seconds that city escapes.
Daisy.
Gatsby kisses her hand.
Until then, Miss Daisy, it was good to see you again.
Ms. Daisy and Tom drive off together, leaving Gatsby looking alone and defeated despite his dream come true of a day.
Jordan, will you be joining us?
Only if Nick will have me.
Nick slowly nods his head.
Right then. Another glorious party, Gatsby. Don't go enjoying it too much now.
She trots off and Gatsby walks down to the dock, exterior Gatsby's dock. Gatsby resumes his usual position on the dock's end, glaring out at the green light, which is now just beginning to break through the mist.
She didn't like it, old sport.
Of course she did.
I feel far away from her. It's hard to make her understand.
What, at the party?
The party? Old sport, the party is unimportant. This situation we are in, she has to tell him the truth.
He wanted nothing less of Daisy than that she should go to Tom and say, I never loved you.
Mist again covers the green light.
Why did you let her get away, Jay?
I came from a swamp in Louisiana. Nothing but a banjo on my back and a bike beneath my feet. But Daisy and I had a love, and if I was ever gonna have her, I had to climb. I could only climb alone. I went to Europe, got my education, found a way to wealth, but time passed us by. If I could, I'd take her back to Louisville right now and marry her just as if it were 5 years ago. But she has to tell Tom the truth that she never loved him.
Nick ponders on deaths.
Gatsby, you can't repeat the past.
Can't repeat the past. Why, of course you can, old sport.
Yeah, you can. You tell him. He's honestly offended. You know why? Because Gatsby walks out of frame and the camera pans over to follow him, revealing an entire film crew with a writer and a director watching a display monitor playing the Muppet Christmas Carol. The director sips coffee and he points to the screen.
Yeah, so the only way the main character the only way it works is if the main character takes it seriously. See Michael Caine's Scrooge, serious as a car accident, despite the puppets around him. That's why it works. People love nostalgia. So if we recapture this, we'll be great.
The crew pauses as they realize that Gatsby is looking at them. Gatsby scrunches his face and motions to camera, which quickly follows him back to his talk with Nick.
I'm gonna fix everything the way it was before. She'll see.
Gatsby turns to walk off, and again, a stranger. He's a stranger at his own party.
For a moment, a phrase tried to take shape in my mouth, and my lips parted as though there was more struggling upon them than a wisp of startled air. But they made no sound, and what I had almost remembered was uncommunicable forever.
Off-screen production assistant hands Gonzo and Rizzo coffees, which they sip as Nick broods, still looking for the light. Rizzo flips through the ripped page of the book.
Oh, hey, it's Nick's birthday tomorrow.
Exterior Buchanan mansion. Gatsby, Nick, Rizzo, and Gonzo ride up on Gatsby's golden bicycles. Rizzo and Gonzo wear birthday hats.
Oh, there Gatsby is. I mean, they are.
Butlers fan Tom and Miss Daisy as they sit drinking cool drinks. Camilla fans Jordan with her wing.
Ready to go into town?
Where's your car?
Oh, well, you see, as a millionaire, I feel it's my duty to reduce my carbon footprint and preserve this planet and all of its resources for future generations.
Tom squints his eyes.
I don't have one.
Tom gets up and paces menacingly around Gatsby.
Well, I do. But I don't expect to fit the whole rowdy bunch inside.
Miss Daisy trots over to Gatsby.
That's okay, darling. I'll ride with Mr. Gatsby, and you can take the others in our car.
The glass Tom is holding shatters in his grasp. He runs his hand back through his hair, brushing off shards of glass.
Sounds great. We'll meet at the Plaza Hotel.
Gatsby honks a whoopee cushion horn as he rides off with Miss Daisy on the back of his bike. Tom is fusing as he watches him go.
You all think I'm pretty stupid, don't you?
Yes.
What's that?
Well, have you know that I've made a little inquiry into Gatsby, this Gatsby fellow. He's not what he says he is. He's a bootlegger.
What? Gatsby doesn't wear boots.
Nick's attitude suddenly changes. He's on the defensive, as if he were defending himself.
You're wrong. Gatsby's an honest man.
Then why doesn't he tell me what I already know? Why don't you?
Nick hangs his head. Jordan takes his hand in comfort. Exterior, George Bear Wilson's garage. The eyes of the doctors glare down. Sunlight passing through the holes in their decaying display. Tom's car rockets down the valley of ashes.
We were all irritable now with the fading ale and aware of it. We drove for a while in silence. Then Doctors TJ and Eckelberg's faded eyes came into sight down the road.
Everybody seems to be in love with the wrong person in this movie.
You know what I'm not in love with? This movie. Nick's eyes become lost in the faded blue irises.
I remembered Gatsby. The eyes were not the eyes of God watching his children. They were the eyes of the past, unable to change the future.
George Bear Wilson packs rubber chickens into a suitcase as Tom's car pulls up.
Hey there, it's Wilson. Wilson! Don't hold me up here.
I'm sorry, Mr. Buchanan. I'm going away.
In the back seat, Rizzo and Gonzo pull out a birthday cake with Nick's name written on it.
When do we surprise him?
George begins sobbing.
Myrtle and I are moving west.
Myrtle, she's leaving with you?
Tom looks up and sees Myrtle crying in an upstairs window as she glares down. She blows hot breath on the glass and draws a heart on it, pointing to Tom. Gonzo and Rizzo lower the cake as George cries.
Okay. Maybe I should wait.
Rizzo puts the cake down in the driver's seat.
I just got wised up to something funny the last few days. That I'm not funny, and she knows it too.
The relentless beating heat was beginning to confuse me, and I had a bad moment there before I realized that so far his suspicions hadn't alighted on Tom. George had discovered that Myrtle had some sort of life apart from him in another world, and the shock had made him physically sick.
The improv scene is much better out west. Maybe I'll even make some money like you, Mr. Buchanan. Go on.
Tom scoffs and returns to his car.
No, wait!
Tom sits down, crushing the cake beneath his bottom. He lets out a long sigh. And he puts his car into gear and drives off. He may actually be fighting off tears.
Bye, Myrtle.
There are screams from Myrtle's window as Tom drives off. Exterior Valley of Ashes continuous. Tom drives like a madman.
Tom was feeling the hot whips of panic. Daisy and Myrtle, until an hour ago secure and inviolate, were slipping from his control. Instinct made him step on the accelerator with the double purpose of overtaking Daisy and leaving Wilson behind.
They pass Gatsby and Daisy, laughing as they bike together. Tom's eyes fill with rage. Jordan reaches over and takes Nick's hand, but his touch is cold. His eyes remain on Gatsby, seen riding behind them. Interior Plaza Suite. Gonzo and Rizzo look down at the smushed cake, still readable, but obviously freshly sat on.
I think we can just cut out the part Tom sat on.
He's sat on the whole cake.
Oh, yeah, well, 5-second rule.
He sat on it for the entire ride.
Yeah, but it never hit the ground.
Gonzo shrugs and lights a candle atop the destroyed cake.
Oh, for he's a jolly good fellow.
The hotel bathroom door suddenly swings open, slamming into Gonzo and Rizzo with a distinct slap of wet cake. Daisy steps out, rubbing ice cubes on her face.
It is hot. There's blazes in here. Open another window, Tom, my dear.
They're all open.
Then send for an axe.
They'll need an axe. Then I'll need an axe the way this day needs to get going.
The door creaks back, revealing the two covered in cake.
Just don't say anything, Fitz.
Why not let her alone, old sport?
Nick and Jordan hang their heads as Tom sits, fixing his pocket watch by an open window overlooking Manhattan. Tom suddenly begins laughing cruelly. The ice is melted in Miss Daisy's shaking grip.
That's a great expression of yours, that old sport business. Where'd you pick that up from? Your bootlegging buddies like Meyer Wolf Prawn?
Tom? If you're going to make personal remarks, I won't stay here another minute.
I imagine you both have something to tell me. Well, I have something to tell you.
Oh, good. You must have remembered Nick's birthday.
Tom begins singing a song called Old Sport.
You could call me old money. You could say you're new. They'll call you new money. I'll call you who? Mr. Gatsby, you don't seem to know who I am. Well, took a look in the mirror, because I'll show you who's a sham.
That's a rather unfair accusation, old sport.
Nick, who do you think Mr. Gatsby is?
He's my friend.
Wrong. He just used you to get to Daisy. Jordan, what do you think of that little green fellow over there?
A gentleman to the end.
Wrong. The man you see before you is James Gats, and his life ain't worth spit.
Tom hacks up some spit and shoots it at table glass. Gonzo and Rizzo hold up 8 and 7 judge cards.
Hold it right there, old sport.
The music grows more intense, more frantic.
He was the son of a poor family. And while he may be rich now, I can promise you he'll always have been the poor longer than he'll ever be rich.
Is that a threat, old sport?
It's the truth, old sport. Old sport, old sport. You and I are a kind of sort who fall in love with the girl.
Butler penguins pop up from the windows to sing barbershop backup. Fall in love with a girl.
A girl worth the price of every pearl.
Miss Daisy runs a finger over her pearls.
I paid that price, old sport. You missed your chance, and the store's closed. Daisy!
Miss Daisy jumps.
What do you think of this, old sport? What do you think of this James Gats from the swamps of Louisiana?
I love him.
The penguins back her up. She loves him.
She loves him.
Tom forcefully grabs their beaks.
What am I paying you for?
Sorry.
Old sport. Stuck in the past. You hope to thwart, but you can't throw away history.
Like Christopher.
I unravel your cloth, but what's the mystery? There's none. You're nothing. You had nothing. You will be nothing, old sport. And I'll have Daisy because we have history, and you no longer have mystery.
Everyone is frozen in suspense. Tom catches his breath. He is drenched in sweat.
Tell him, Miss Daisy. Tell him how you never loved him.
Daisy stands between the two men. All her ice has been melted.
You're disgusting, Tom.
Say it then.
I loved you once.
Tom moves in.
Really? Was it on our honeymoon in Bermuda? Was that the one time you loved me?
Miss Daisy says nothing.
Was it when I walked into your new home, into our new home, and we danced in every room?
Miss Daisy hangs her head.
Was it on our wedding day, when I saw the tears dried under your eyes, and that you had dried them for me? Tell me you only loved me once. Tell me when that was.
Miss Daisy screams madly.
I can't do it, Jay. I can't. I loved you both, but you weren't there, Jay. It's in the past.
She runs off sobbing and slams the bathroom door. Tom looms over a defiant but ultimately hopeless Gatsby.
It's all over, old sport. This little flirtation of yours. Suggest you drive Daisy home, say goodbye, and we'll follow you shortly.
Gatsby looked as if he had killed a man.
Gatsby can't bring himself to speak. He walks to the bathroom and gives a defeated knock.
Miss Daisy, let's get you home.
Gonzo and Rizzo walk over and sit between Jordan and Nick. Nick looks suddenly shell-shocked and a thin laugh escapes.
Nick, what is it?
I just remembered. Today is my birthday.
Rizzo and Gonzo groan.
Ugh, we've been trying to tell you that all day.
Jordan leans in and grabs Nick's face, turning it towards her.
Jordan, we don't have history together. I'm getting older and I don't know how many more pasts I can make with people.
That's what I like about you.
Is it? Or was I just trying to be Gatsby?
She reprises singing, "Can't repeat the past."
But you can't repeat the past. You can't repeat the past. Best to leave it only in our memory, else let it become our enemy.
You can't repeat the past. You can't repeat what's gone. Wish it well and leave those dreams alone.
When we move on to the future, the past begins to shine. There's hope in the heart. I can make it again, make it mine.
But the longer days go,
the
farther those moments become. Bringing them back now just makes me feel glum.
You can't repeat the past. You can't repeat the past. You think you have it, but then it leaves your grasp. Best to leave it be, best to follow through. You can't repeat the past if you want to keep
me.
Jordan rests her head on Nick's shoulder.
Jordan, unlike Daisy, was too wise ever to carry well-forgotten dreams from age to age. Her worn face fell lazily against my coat's shoulder, and the formidable stroke of the clock died away with the reassuring pressure of her hand.
Tom suddenly throws his hat upon the ground.
Darn it, there was only one car.
Exterior, George Bear Wilson's garage. Police lights beam in the dusty night sky of the Valley of Ashes. There is a crime scene ahead, just in front of George Bear Wilson's shop. Tom and the others ride in the golden Gatsby bicycles as they make their way down the road.
Might actually get Tom some business. Whoever wrecked is stranded he has to hear his jokes.
Nick can see George crying before a group of police officers. Beside him is Myrtle in a massive full-body cast.
Myrtle!
Tom jumps off his bike and runs over.
Myrtle! Evening, officers. Mr. Wilson, what happened?
Myrtle mumbles through her cast but falls into an ash heap. No one helps her up.
This madman in a blue car ran Myrtle over. She went running out after it. I can't tell you why. Acted like she knew the driver.
Did you see it?
George shakes his head.
They saw it.
He points up at the eyes of Doctors TJ and Ecclesburg.
The eyes of God see everything.
He thinks we're the eyes of God.
If I was God, I would have ended this movie over an hour ago. Another shared laugh.
You think this man was someone that Myrtle...
The man she laughed with, well, he certainly did hit on her. A waka waka.
Silence. An absolute bomb of a joke. George sighs.
Well, the doctor said she may never laugh again.
Mumble screams from the dust pile, and two cops assist her up again.
So this fellow who ran her over, did you get a good look at him?
No, George shakes his head, and so do I.
No, I think he passed us a while back. Handsome green fella with a trail of money burning behind him.
Yeah, George squeezes his rubber chicken like a stress ball.
Tell me his name.
Tom smiles. The eyes of Dr. TJ and Ecclesburg glare over him.
Oh! Ho, ho, ho.
Okay. Anyway, exterior Nick's cottage night. Nick returns to his house looking totally exhausted.
Sorry your birthday was so bad.
It could have been worse. You could have been run over by a car.
Thanks, guys. I just can't understand why Gatsby did it. Why he'd drive away like a coward.
Gatsby leans over the hedge and lets out a long psst.
Hello over there, old sport.
Gatsby! You have some nerve showing your face after that stunt. She's in a full body cast and the doctors say she'll never laugh again.
Well, not married to that bear.
Gatsby, this is serious. You show me your medals and yet you flee like a coward. Was anything you told me true? Any of it?
It's true that I loved Daisy, and I still do. That's why when I tried to grab the wheel,
Nick stops. His expression immediately changes.
Daisy. She was driving.
Gatsby reluctantly nods. Flashback. Exterior. George Bear Wilson's garage. Meow. Gatsby sits next to Daisy in the car as she drives.
she said it would calm her nerves to drive.
George is trying to run some new stand-up in the garage, and Myrtle suddenly screams and runs out. You know why? It was really bad. And she sees the blue car approaching.
This madwoman ran out in the road after us, and it was too late to stop. She gave us no place.
Well, Myrtle screams again as the automobile mows her down beneath it. Bye, Felicia.
That was Myrtle she hit. Tom's woman in New York.
Oh, well, I guess that explains what happened next.
Miss Daisy puts the car in reverse and runs over Myrtle again with a loud boom. Oh no, girl, you ran her over twice. Wow, that's fucked up. She pulls forward.
Tom! Tom, is it you, darling?
Miss Daisy again goes into reverse and repeats the action. She turns to a horrified Gatsby.
Let's go home, shall we?
And flashback. Jeez. Exterior Nick's cottage. Nick hangs his head in his hands.
So what are you going to do now?
Well, I suppose I'll just wait for Daisy to call.
What if she doesn't call?
He's gonna make a TikTok. Gatsby laughs at this, but it's a sad and empty laugh.
I suppose I'll use the pool then. You know, I haven't used that thing all summer.
You still think Daisy will change your mind?
Gatsby points to the distant green light, now clear again.
I have to, old smart. It ain't easy being green.
Gatsby holds out his hand.
Until then, friend.
Nick takes his hand, looking Gatsby in the eyes.
Gatsby, you're worth the whole bunch put together.
Gatsby stares at Nick, understanding.
I always see you thinking, Nick, and that seems like the first time you've spoken out loud.
I'm glad. It won't be the last. Good night.
Nick returns to his home and Rizzo looks at the torn up book.
What?
This page right here says Gatsby and Nick never meet again after this.
Oh no. Gatsby was moving west.
Gonzo and Rizzo shrug in agreement and return to the cottage. Exterior Gatsby's pool. Womp womp. Gatsby lays out a pool floaty and climbs atop it. He plays out his banjo and hums along to Kokomo as he runs his hand along through the water. On the edge of the frame, George Bear Wilson's legs walk towards the pool.
Waka waka. Want to hear a joke?
Interior Nick's cottage. Nick looks in the mirror and he's tying his tie. Rizzo walks into the room still wearing a bathrobe and drinking coffee.
What's going on, Nick? You got a date with Jordan this early?
Fitz, we have jobs. I'm getting dressed for our job on Wall Street.
Gonzo yawns as he straggles in.
Ah, who has jobs?
Bang! A deafeningly loud pop rings out from Gatsby's estate. Nick's face sinks.
That came from Gatsby's.
He runs out the door and Rizzo and Gonzo follow. Exterior Gatsby pool. Nick runs up and sees Gatsby floating face first and motionless in the pool.
Gatsby. Gatsby!
Nick looks over and sees George Bear Wilson also lying motionless on a pool chair.
Gatsby, wake up. Gatsby, you can't do this.
Tears fall down Nick's face as he struggles towards a phone by the pool.
Don't do this. Don't do this to me.
He dials for a number and picks up the receiver.
Pick up, Daisy. Pick up!
Interior Buchanan sitting room. Daisy sits by a large pile of luggage that Tom is piling up. Her daughter, Pammy, sits in her lap.
Are we going, Mommy? Only for a little while, Pammy. You beautiful little fool. I'm not a fool.
Miss Daisy kisses her forehead and the phone suddenly rings. Tom looks at it and he is about to answer until Daisy shakes her head.
No more phone calls.
Exterior Gatsby's pool. Nick's tears wet his hand. He slams the receiver back into the phone and begins dialing a new one.
Hola, Wolfhund speaking.
Meyer, something terrible has happened to Gatsby.
I did not do it, okay?
No, I need you here right now. You're his oldest friend. I need someone who can make sense of this.
I'm a little busy. If you are saying what I think you are saying, then I say celebrate the man when he is still here. After that, my rule is to let everything pass, okay? Like Mr. Gatsby. Adios!
He hangs up. Rizzo and Gonzo look on in worry as we see a montage of shots of Nick calling and hanging up the phone in frustration. He sinks to the ground, nearing a full breakdown.
No one wants to come. They came in droves for his party, but now that the man is face down in his pool...
Scooter walks out, holding the remaining pages.
I'm here.
He never left.
Hey, give me those!
Rizzo snatches the missing pages and spreads them, or speed reads them.
And now this would have been useful information 10 pages ago.
Scooter shrugs.
Hey, I tried.
The phone rings and Nick quickly grabs for it. Oddly enough, behind Nick, we see Gatsby's body begin swimming to the edge to pull himself out of the pool.
Yes, hello. Hello, Gatsby residents.
Hey, Klipspringer the dog. Sorry to hear about Gatsby. Anyway, I left my tennis shoes in the mansion. You think I could take a look?
Nick slams down the receiver and sinks onto his knees.
I wanted to get somebody for you, Gatsby. I will get somebody for you, Gatsby. Don't worry. Just trust me and I'll get somebody for you. Just trust me.
Well, sir,
Could you?
Gatsby's wet feet walk next to Nick.
Yeah. Could you? Could somebody give me a towel?
Gatsby!
Nick jumps up and embraces him.
I thought I lost you. I thought Mr. Wilson had.
Well, he looks over and sees George Bear Wilson dressed like Tony Montana in the pool chair. He pops another champagne bottle, producing an identical shot noise to the one heard earlier.
I came over because every character but me had gotten to live the rich life. So why not George Bear Wilson, huh? Now I'm living it up. Ah.
Gatsby, I saw you floating there.
Well, sure. I'm an amphibian. That's what we do.
Nick wipes the tears from his eyes. Something is overly dramatic about this Oscar-worthy scene.
Thank you.
The lighting and music all feel like too much.
I guess you can bring back the past.
Gonzo and Rizzo wipe their tears as well. Nick just poured and acted his heart out. But something is off with Gatsby. He stares at Nick the way the other characters normally would when he monologues, but this time there is no monologue.
Does Nick have a line here?
No, it's Gatsby's. This is the happy ending.
Kermit the Frog sighs.
Okay. Yeah. That's it. I quit.
Exterior Gatsby's mansion film set. Kermit walks off Mark, again revealing the film crew, all with their equipment and their screens.
Whoa, Kermit!
Panic production assistants clear a path as Kermit pushes past lights and props. Nick's actor stands dumbfounded as he watches Kermit go.
Wait, don't break character. We're going to bring it back. Kermit, baby, come on, let's talk.
No, I'm not coming back. I'll be in my trailer on the phone with my agent telling him I'm never doing another exploitive, soulless, cash grab picture like this.
Kermit, baby, what movie isn't?
Kermit screams, waving his arm in the air.
Don't you see the problem with what you're doing here? Did you people even read the book? Don't you see the message?
Silence, Miss Piggy runs on set.
Kermit, what is the matter?
Oh, hey Piggy, I'm just quitting the movie.
What?
Fozzie lets out a wow!
Kermit is pulling a Christian Bailey.
You be quiet! Kermit, is this because Daisy doesn't get with Gatsby at the end? You know it's not really how I feel.
No, Piggy, it's because no one should get with anyone at the end. Everyone here is so obsessed with bringing back the past, they didn't stop to ask if they should. The Muppets aren't relevant anymore. No one wants to see this.
Well, Kermit runs off and his arms are flailing, and that's lunch. A bell rings and the crew breaks, and the main Muppets stand devastated as they see the door to Kermit's trailer slam shut.
Wow. Usually Kermit's existential breakdowns happen somewhere in the second act.
Wait, what act are we on?
Everyone sighs. Walter the Muppet pushes into the group.
Guys, Kermit just had a bad day. How could everything the Muppets are irrelevant?
Everyone looks at Walter in equal confusion.
Who are you?
Nick's actor grabs the script and reclines on one of the pool chairs. He refuses to acknowledge the others, and he looks hard at work, though tears still fall from his eyes. Jordan's actress walks up. a sharp contrast from the woman she portrayed, while Jordan is coldly alluring. The actress is friendly and warm in a bubbly and sort of excited way.
Rough day at the office?
Easy for you to say. I can't turn off these tears, you know. I work them up and then some amateur ruins the scene and stop looking like an idiot.
You did not just call Kermit the Frog an amateur.
He is if he's gonna act this way. What actor can make a scene like that and still have a career?
Tom Cruise, Russell Crowe, Alec Baldwin, Mel Gibson, Dennis Quaid. You?
I am not making a scene.
Jordan's actress laughs.
I haven't been in Hollywood as long as you have, but you want to know why I joined up?
Why?
Because I saw an opportunity.
She holds up a copy of The Great Gatsby book.
Says the same thing in this book. That's why Mayor Wolfman, or whatever, fixed the World Series.
He also wanted money.
Jordan's actress tosses the book down to Nick's actor.
Yes, I wanted this, and I still can't believe I'm really here, but that doesn't mean I'm never sad or I'm never angry. Reaching your dream doesn't stop it from being a dream. It doesn't stop reality from being where you are really at.
Nick laughs through his teeth, a genuine laugh.
Maybe you should have played Nick if you're going to talk like that.
You'd make an awful Jordan. Why do you join Hollywood, that is? What's your dream?
Too much of what I saw in Hollywood was fake. I wanted to see something real. I wanted to actually feel what I saw on screen.
Jordan's actress looks up and winks at the other Muppets.
Ready, men? Heave!
They suddenly pick up Nick's pool chair and hold him up.
Hey, what are you guys doing? Launch!
A helpless sound guy screams out.
Wait, he's still wearing a mic.
They launch Nick's chair into the pool and he immediately swims up, shivering. The sound guy walks away, defeated.
No one listens to sound.
That is cold! That is so cold!
That feel real enough for you?
He looks up and sees the camera pointed to him. Then he glares directly into the main camera.
Yeah. Thanks, I needed that. Think we should do it to Kermit?
That won't do Kermit any good. He's an amphibian.
What we want you to do is talk to Kermit.
Me?
Nobody cares about this movie more than you. And I know deep down you care about Kermit just as much. You wanted to see something real in Hollywood, so you worked with Kermit the Frog and the Muppets. It's time to play the music. It's time to play light the lights.
It's time to meet the Muppets on the Muppet Show tonight.
They all smile down at Nick. He fights it, but he can't help smiling back. Interior Kermit's trailer. Kermit sits in a trailer crowded with the memorabilia and props of past movies and TV shows. Most prominent among them is a photo of Kermit and his creator, Jim Henson. A polite knock at the door.
Kermit?
Kermit grabs his banjo and begins to strum gently.
Yeah, sure. You can come in.
Nick's actor dries himself with a towel as he enters the trailer that is far too small for him.
Please take a seat.
Nick's actor sits on a sofa that fits more like a one-seater. Across from him, old clips from The Muppet Show play on a CRT television.
I suppose you're here to convince me to finish the picture.
No.
No, but I thought...
Kermit, I wasn't going to break character on this movie. My friends were calling me insane, saying, mate, it's a Muppet movie. Get that Disney money and go.
So why didn't you...
Because Nick Carraway was right. Who am I if I've gotten everything I wanted? Who are you if you're not fighting for something?
Yeah, But I don't think we're fighting for anything. This movie kind of spits in the face of the book. The whole point Fitzgerald was making was that you can't bring back the past. Like, you're only going to suffer if you try. Best to let it be. The Muppets are a thing of the past, and we can't keep up with all these streaming shows and new comic book blockbusters. There's no place for us now, not even in parody.
You know, The Great Gatsby took over 20 years to be a success. Fitzgerald actually died thinking he was an obscure and forgotten author.
No, I did not know that. How is that supposed to make me feel better?
Gatsby only found popularity years after it was written because people became nostalgic for the past. No one in the 1920s wanted to read it because they were living it. Fitzgerald finally got his message out through people, just like Gatsby wanting to recapture the past.
Huh. I never thought about it like that. It just feels wrong to me, is all. Like we haven't done anything since Muppet Christmas Carol that was that good, so we might as well try to repeat the same thing again, just like Star Wars and Disney live-action reboots.
Careful, Kermit. Disney is producing this.
Nick holds up the Great Gatsby book, tossing it from hand to hand.
You know that part in the book about celebrating people while they're still here? I agree with it, but I also really don't. I don't want to live in the past, but that doesn't mean I want to forget it. We cut this out of our film, but in the book, one of the only ones who show up to Gatsby's funeral is his father. A father who Gatsby took care of, but never spoke of. We give Gatsby a happy ending in this film, and you don't see his father who loved him. Is that really a happy ending?
That's right. That was my biggest problem from the start. I told the director that we need to see his father.
Kermit, we have seen your father.
Kermit looks over at the photo of him and Jim Henson. The banjo chords of Rainbow Connection echo softly over the image.
I miss him.
I would have loved to have met him. He seemed like a great man. And that's my point. He's gone now, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't remember him. This is for and because of him, always.
Close up on Jim Henson's face.
We've gotten so far from the start now that people don't remember it. I don't know if I want to be part of something where people don't remember the start. I wish I could go back. I do.
I know you do, but you can't, Kermit. He's your green light. But there's more than one light.
Nick's actor points directly at camera.
You're my green light, and the green light of so many watching right now. We grew up with you. Your films and shows raised us when our parents went around or when we were feeling lonely. You were always there for us, inspiring us to learn about new things and love what was strange and that we didn't understand.
Kermit laughs at this, a happy and genuine laugh.
Well, it isn't easy being green.
You helped make me who I am. Jim made you. And you've made the lives of so many others special. Look at them, Kermit. I know you just see a camera lens, but they're out there.
Close up on Kermit's face looking into camera.
No, I see them. I've always seen them.
The green light is a dream. It may feel like it's fake, but this moment isn't in the past or the future. This moment is happening right now. What do you want to say to them, Kermit?
I want to say I've always loved you guys, and that there was a man named Jim Henson who would have loved you too. That's why I still do this. That's why I have to. I love you.
Kermit jumps up, spinning in the air.
Yippee! You're right. So what if Gatsby is supposed to have a sad ending? The world needs some happy ones right now.
Kermit and Nick's actor hug.
Kermit, if you ever want to talk about the past, I'm here for you.
But I can't bring it back. I know. I just want to create something important now.
Exterior film set. The director speaks with Kermit's nephew, Robin the Frog.
Okay, so with Kermit out, I think I'm going to give you the role of Gatsby. Can you handle this?
I want 50% of net gross, not net profit. Hear me?
Kermit flings his trailer door open and steps out with Nick's actor.
Hey everyone, let's shoot a movie! Yay!
The film crew and Muppets cheer. Nick's actor looks out and sees Jordan's actress, who winks with a smile.
Now, where were we?
Exterior Gatsby's dock, sunset. Nick steps into a paddle boat with Gonzo and Rizzo. The faint green light flashes behind him.
Yeah, look, Gail, it's a boat.
I don't think it was literal.
It is. It's in this movie.
Gatsby and George Bear Wilson watch from the shore.
Sure you won't sail back west with us?
Thanks, but with everyone thinking I'm dead, I can finally have some peace. George and I are gonna put on a two-man show together.
I'll finally have my American dream.
Nick laughs slyly at this. Gonzo undoes the rope to the dock.
I hope you do. After all, that's what America's about. Not what we are, but what we can become. But what about Daisy?
Well, if she ever comes in to see our show, she'll have a few laughs.
Gatsby, is this how you thought it'd end?
But this isn't the end, Nick. Life isn't a book you open and close. You write it yourself. Start writing, old sport.
The boat pulls away. Exterior Long Island Bay. Nick rows off as the others wave to Gatsby. Nick sings the finale song called American Dream.
What color is the American dream?
Sam Eagle passes by in his plane.
Is it red, white, and blue?
Tom passes by in a fancy boat as he counts money.
Or perhaps it is green.
Does it come in different sizes?
Bobo the bear passes in a boat that appears to be sinking.
I don't know.
Bobo, do you know that you do?
I don't know.
Cool. Well, Myra Wolf Prawn also passes by in a yacht filled with party girls.
Don't ask me, but it's full of surprises.
Is it real or is it bust? I just want to know what I can trust. Is there an American dream for me? Is there a promise that somewhere I can be free?
Sam Eagle, he wipes a tear from his eye.
Beautiful.
And Jordan jumps off Tom's boat and into Nick's.
But you can't be free in the past. You can't have a dream that'll last.
Boats of all sizes converge on the bay now.
The American dream, is it truth or a lie? It would be really nice to know before we say goodbye. I want so many things, but I still have doubt. What's the moral of the story even about?
Oh, I get it now. The East represents the past and the West represents the future.
No.
No? Wait, what do you mean now?
The American dream is up for you to decide. Gatsby had everything except Daisy. So he still didn't have his dream to spread his wealth. There, you happy?
A long pause from Rizzo over the music.
So, I regard the viewers themselves.
Oh, for the love of...
For the love of the American dream, my fellow citizens, smile and beam. Our economic system will never collapse. So all of us in the future will be millionaires, perhaps. We're gonna party like Jay Gatsby because that's what he'd want. We don't misunderstand, we don't mean to taunt. The American dream is coming and it's coming fast.
Thank you. Nick pulls off from the other rich yachts and boats, which have now begun to crash into each other during this overtly, complicated musical number. Come on, boat choreography.
Gatsby believed in the green light, the orgastic future that year by year recedes before us. It eluded us then, but that's no matter. Tomorrow we will run faster, stretch out our arms farther, and one fine morning. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past.
Nick's actor looks into camera and grins with a laugh.
Yeah, I'll see you out there.
Flash to green.
And cut it! All right, let's go again. I think a mic was in the shot.
Ah!
And groans are heard from the Muppets and the crew, and Kermit and Nick's actor can be heard laughing together. The end.
Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you in the next one.